Let me mute my phone there.
Any public comments online?
Not my knowledge.
Okay. Want to do the pledge today? Okay, let me get started here. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Penobscot County Commissioners meeting of June 17th, 2025. Last time we'll probably meet in this room, huh? Okay.
Good possibility.
Good possibility. At this point, I'll call the meeting to order. Call the roll. Commissioner Tremble.
Here.
Commissioner Marshall.
Here.
Mr. Treasurer.
Here.
And the chair is present. At this point, I would invite Commissioner Tremble, who needs a new microphone, to lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You got it? I guess you said. Well, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us this morning. At this point, I will ask for a motion to approve the minutes from the June 3rd, 2025 meeting.
So moved. Second?
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye. Aye. It is unanimous of those present. At this point, do we have anyone present who has a desire to address the commission on items not on the agenda? We allow folks about 3 minutes to do so. Going once, going twice. I guess we'll close public comment. Thank you all. Update from our friends at the unorganized territory. Brought reinforcements today, huh?
I had to.
Okay.
Looking for a chair. You got three?
We got three.
Yep.
You need a fourth?
in a minute.
Okay. Good
Bring
deal.
along an audience. I need backup.
Understood.
I usually don't say much.
I don't believe your microphone's on, George, but I think you can solve that.
But there you go.
You want to introduce your distinguished guest now or wait?
Oh, we'll do it now.
Okay.
Harold Chip Jones is the, what is the, I missed it this morning too. Your title.
Financial Administrator of the Unorganized Territories.
We just put our budget through, from what I understand, our UT budget to the state went through legislature just recently.
Just recently, yeah,
So, and there were no changes to our budget that I'm aware of, so.
no changes at all.
Okay, great. Well, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate, on behalf of Maine County Commissioners, you joined us for our last board meeting too. George, take it away.
All right. Well, we have a public hearing, first of all, for the Rocky Mountain Trail Riders.
We're about 5 minutes
Something for about
Are we
early.
still a little early?
Yeah,
Well, that's easy.
even earlier for the cannabis ordinance, so. You want to roll down to the Lee ambulance?
Yeah, Lee ambulance contract. Lee takes care of ambulance only for Kingman and Prentice townships. After some negotiating this year, they originally started out wanting a 15% increase over last year's price. And after some talking, we settled on a 10% increase over last year's price for those two townships. We tried to talk them into taking on the town of Drew, because they're a lot closer than Lee, than Lincoln is, but they didn't want to bring on any more work. Didn't dare to quite take on the work. So maybe another year, we can fold Drew into that same contract with Lee. But right now, Drew is covered by Lincoln.
Okay. Thank you very much.
15% down to 10 or 50% savings.
Well, we're lucky to have the contract up there, because
And that's just for the year, right?
it's a one-year deal. It's another one of those that they really didn't want to do a multi-year contract.
10% is a bargain these days.
Well, we're appreciative of the communities that do help out our unorganized townships and the smaller communities. As many folks have heard here, Dr. Froman has been working with some different groups, and we certainly would make him, I think, available if you found there were some discussions that he might be able to help you with, George.
He spent 6 months working with us before he went to work with you guys. So he's met all the players, and he's been in all the meetings with us, and he still continues to be at several of our meetings. So we're still taking a use of him.
Great. I think, Mr. Jones, you may be aware that we helped in forming the first fire EMS district in the state, and it incorporates a couple of the unorganized territories. So we have continued that relationship and hope to find other opportunities where towns can collaborate, and particularly when it comes to UT territories, that becomes even more important. So,
Yes.
stay tuned for coming attractions. I believe we need a vote on the Lee ambulance contract.
If you would please.
I move we approve the ambulance contract for the year.
Second?
Have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And I believe we are authorizing the administrator to sign that.
Yep.
Okay?
Thank you, George.
I believe just a wee bit early, so let's go to the RFP openings.
That'll take a minute, we have a lot of bids.
Yes, Prentice Township paving project. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
You got it.
We got ahead of that.
You did, I'm very impressed.
The first one I will open is from Wellman Paving.
I'm gonna pull them right in here.
Base price as listed, $645, $105 for the shim and overlay price per ton,
105 even?
105 even.
Yep.
Next up is our friends from Streets, Landscape, and Lawn Care of Old Town. Shim and overlay price per ton, $95 even.
That's per ton.
Correct.
Anything else?
Yep. A little sticky here.
The first number that you read, that, the 645 on the other one,
Yes.
that's just the asphalt escalator that we put in there, so that if they don't pave pretty soon and that changes either up or down the cost of asphalt, then that by percentage, the way it's written in the contract, our price will go up or down based off that escalator.
So it's attached to the price.
It is, and it's saved us money in the long run, so.
Great. Thank you for explaining that. At this point, we have Steelstone Industries of Holton, Maine. Again, tonnage price, as you indicated, is the same. Current bid from them for shim and overlay, price per ton, $110. Next up is Vaughn D. Thibodeau. 645.
Thank you.
And thank you. And shim and overlay is $107.97. Here's the pipe industry. $169 per ton for shim and overlay. Thank you. Roundy's Paving of Newport. They did not indicate the $645 a ton in the space that is provided, but they're showing $99.50 per ton.
99 what?
$99.50 per ton. I'm sorry, they did list it on the base price in another portion of their contract. Northeast Paving. I believe they are located in Bangor, or actually Herman. They did indicate the $645, and their price is $162 per ton for shim and overlay. B&B Paving of Herman. $98, bless you, per ton for shim and overlay.
What was the woman, Scott, the woman did?
105.
Do we have experience with streets, George?
Very much. They were the winning bidder last year, did a
Okay.
great job for
Who
us.
did it last year?
Streets, the low bid,
Yeah,
the one we worked with last year.
So I would seek from recommending.
They're,
that we
they're
approve
well
that.
within the budgeting estimates that we
Okay.
have.
I recommend we approve this bid to streets.
Okay, I just want to make sure I've given everything. I'm showing 8 on the page here, and I counted 7. Do you want to,
You gave us a,
did I give you 8?
Yeah.
Okay. I was not writing them down, so thank you. So we have a motion related to the Prentice Township paving project to provide the projects to the winning bidder being Street and Company of Old Town, was it?
Old Town, right?
Yeah. Street and Company of Old
I
Town.
would second that.
Have a motion, a second, further discussion. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Guess not.
thank you.
Thank you, George. Tina.
Okay. We are now at 12 or 13 minutes past the hour. We can open our public hearing for the Rocky Mountain Trail Riders ATV poker run.
You remember that this club, their clubhouse is actually in Greenfield Township. And they've got an active club now. They fired the club back up 2 years ago. And they've got many members. And they do a great job. They maintain their trail signs, they maintain their trails. And they use a lot of our roads for their trails. They did a poker run last year, and it was successful, and the sheriff's department had no recorded problems, so we don't see any reason why we wouldn't want to look positive on them this year. However, this year they're going for 2 separate dates for their poker runs.
How many miles do they maintain? Do you know right off your?
Off the top of my head, I don't, but it was quite a few. It's over 50, but I don't remember what number is.
So at this point, is there anyone here to speak in favor of the proposed poker runs? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Nobody online that you noticed, Tony? No. Okay. Any who wish to speak neither for nor against? Last call. We will close the public hearing, entertain a vote.
Will we approve the poker runs with the 2 dates requested for the Rocky Mountain Trail Riders?
Second.
Have a motion and a second, further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
One more thing on that same topic. Last year, we waived the $50 application fee for the amusement permit. I don't know if you'd want to waive it again this year, where it's a fundraiser.
Is
It's
that-
$50 less they have to come up with.
Yeah, is that a standard?
It is.
It is.
I'd modify the motion to include waiving of the $50 fee.
So we have a motion to waive the fee for these 2 days.
Fine with that. Just a question, do we have any fees incurred? Do we have to advertise this? Or?
We did. They gave us $20
already
for the
paid,
ad. They
okay.
paid for the ad.
All right,
So we have a motion and a second.
yes.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. Okay, we're still slightly early for our discussion on the canvas. Does Mr. Jones have anything that he would like to share as pertinent to UT business?
I would.
Thank you.
Some of this may be old news to you, because we just recently spoke on a lot of this, but I've
We have a
recently.
vast viewing audience here.
That's,
so-
I've recently taken on this position for the state. I've worked for the state for over 20 years now. I'm about 9 months into this position now and learning a lot as I go. One of the things that I have learned is that the UTs make up a vast majority land-wise of the state of Maine, but they receive a vast majority of the go sit in the corner, we're gonna talk about you later, you know. So what I'm really trying to do now is to push the UTs into the front of everybody, to let them understand that they have people out there, they have needs, they have wants, and they're being forgotten a lot when it comes to funding for certain things. Recently, the Department of Education put forward changing a rule for transportation of students to school. It always used to be you can't drive your own kid to school and be paid to do it. Some of these UT students are 2 hours from school. And generally speaking, it's always been a contract provider that will deliver them to and from school. In some cases, they can't find them, so they hire a private person, which recently has always been like a grandparent, aunt and uncle. But the parents were told they can't do it. They recently changed that because it's an amazing cost savings when you are looking at $75,000 to $80,000 to transport a kid for one school year, or you could pay the parent mileage to go back and forth, which the state mileage rate is not even close to that. So that did pass. As George mentioned, the municipal cost component, that has passed. That passed as an emergency. So it is going to go right into effect. We also have, I found as I was reviewing a lot of the statutes that deal with unorganized territories, I found that one of them puts a mandate on the number of individuals to petition to be an unorganized territory. But as I did a little research, we have 5 or 6 municipalities in the state of Maine that fall below that number. So they're kind of handcuffed to that. So we did a little housekeeping on that statute, and we took out the number and kept the percentage that was in there. Again, that way every community has the opportunity to do that. And
Just out of curiosity,
Yeah.
what was the threshold?
10,
10. We have
no less
towns
than
that-
10.
We have towns that are less than 10 people.
Well, it's 10, no less than 10 registered voters.
Okay.
So if you take a municipality that has 40 individuals in there, and the average household is 3 to 4 people.
They have 8 or 9 people, down to the threshold.
Exactly, and it's a 50% for, but no less than 10. So if you're in that mix there, it's gonna be, you could have 70% of the people voting to deorganize, but if it's not more than 10, it doesn't matter.
Was that the previous language disjunctive? It was disjunctive language?
Yeah.
And now you've just eliminated you've gone to percentage.
Correct.
Makes sense.
Yeah, and that's a lot of the stuff is we're going through and looking at a little bit of the housekeeping sides of things. Some of the issues that I'm currently working through, one of them right now is general purpose aid for UT students. So the 55% that you always hear the legislation talking about when it comes to school funding, that is, they try to hit a 55% mark of holistically the cost of education in the state of Maine. That's not individually for every student. It depends on, the town you live in, the economics of that town, and all of that. But the one group that is left out of that is UT students. So we're working with DOE right now to see how we can, change that process to include them, because all of that funding comes from your income tax, it comes from state taxes, and it comes from casino taxes. And I'm sure there are a few out there in the UTs that go to the casinos every now and again, and I know they're paying their taxes. So again, that's something they've been paying into for years, but never receiving the benefit of that either. And when it comes to the UT budget, half of the budget is education. So if we can even come close to that 55% mark, that we're talking millions of dollar savings for the UT budget. But with those tax savings, some of the things that I'd like to get back into is capital improvements. So capital improvements is done by Maine DOT, local roads, they help out. Every year they give Georgia some money for all the miles of town ways and public ways that he has to help maintain those. One of those things that they normally do is bridges. 25 years ago, I believe it was, the state turned over all bridges to the municipalities that they reside in. So the county is the municipality for those bridges now in the UTs. You're responsible for maintenance, and the agreement is the state would pay 50% of any capital improvements or 1% of the municipality's collective property value, whichever is less. But at the bottom of that, it says if funding's available. Now, as anybody with common sense would say, if I have a bridge that sees 50 people a day or a bridge that sees 5,000 people a day, and I have one chunk of change to put into that, where am I gonna put it? So again, the UTs have been neglected. So with some of that tax savings, I'm hoping to get back from the education side of it, is to reinvest some of that money back into the UTs to help bolster the infrastructure of the UTs.
What was the percentage of the state contribution for maintenance and improvements?
It's
Is it 50%?
It's 50% or 1%. The municipality has to pay 50% or 1% of the property evaluation in that municipality, whichever's less. So if it's a $2 million project and 1% of the property value in that township is $300,000, that's what the county would pay, is $300,000. That's if the funding would be available for it. I've talked with local roads, they're very good to work with. And I think basically, and that's what I plan on working with George and the other counties with this is, but you gotta get your name on their list early.
And that's
They
all
put-
done through DOT, right?
Yeah, there's a biennial budget, they're trying to budget things out, so we gotta start doing a better job at inventorying our bridges and go, hey, we're about 4 years out from having something big happen. DOT can help, they're not guaranteeing the funding, but the further out we can wave our hand and say we may need help, they can start to sew that into a budget and go, hey, maybe we can find some funding in one of these biennial budgets coming up.
Thank you.
Director, how many bridges do we have?
We have two
We have two.
currently. The $1 Million Bridge in Grand Falls, and the Scraggly Lake Road has a bridge up there.
What's the second one?
Scraggly Lake Road has a bridge.
Three of those would fall in the 3rd district.
Yeah.
Hey, we drive on anything that's paved.
That's, well, as I
That's
always,
a blessing.
I worked for DOT for a few years, and the bridge department always used to say is the only reason we have roads is to get from bridge to bridge, you know?
I like that.
Yeah.
There you go.
But that's, I mean, what I'm doing right now in a nutshell, but I'm an open resource, so if, you know, any of you or anyone here needs anything from me, including the residents of the UTs, please pass my information along, and I'll do whatever I can to help them through whatever issue is going on at that time.
Great, we appreciate that. Just a side note, I think as we do our MCCA board meetings, there are opportunities for some informational educational sessions. So
Yes,
if you drop me a reminder of that at some point, we'll see if we can fit you in this fall.
perfect.
Just
Thank you.
a quick question while
Yeah.
we're here. I know that UT just did a reval, and was that an outside agency that did that, or the state do it, or how was that?
So the property valuations are done by Maine Revenue Service. This year, they did a real estate evaluation.
So, did you see different area? I mean, was Penobscot UT impacted more than some other UTs? I mean, what's it, I heard it was some sticker shock for a lot of.
It
everybody
was a
just
lot
did
of
a
sticker
reval, it's the
shock, but
answer.
most of the sticker shock, the ones that really had a really big jump is the ones that have waterfront property.
Right,
Yeah,
You know, and state statute says that we have to be within 91%.
91%.
91% that price tag, and
And that's why it triggered the 5-year review instead of the standard 10-year review?
they generally, MRS will do 5-year reviews on more populated UTs. But of course, there are some houses that you know, as I always say, you need an ATV to carry the boat to get on the lake, you know, to get to it. So those that are about every 10 years, but they try to stay to the more populated every 5, but get everything in every 10. This year they did the real estate evaluation because they were so far off at this point.
You know, we've seen in my area, I've heard from a number of my constituents, we've seen in the lake areas, anywhere around a 230, 250% increase in courses raised along that. That doesn't mean the tax is going up.
Correct.
Once they set the mill rate, once we know that.
Right.
But, you know, and a lot of that is sticker shock, it's putting it mildly.
Yes, yeah, but you know, I've had a few conversations with a few residents in UTs, and when I start talking to them, I'm like, has any property sold next to you? Oh yeah, the guy down the road, he sold that place for 20 times of what it's worth. I'm like,
Yeah.
there you go.
Probably a considerable number of retired assessors and appraisers that live in the unorganized sector. Okay. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further
Thank you.
questions? Seeing none, appreciate again
Thank
you
you
being
very
here and
much.
sharing the work you're doing.
Because of the large increase or the anticipated increase in taxes, there's a group of individuals that's trying to form together right now in IP3 and IP4, South Twin and Norcross, those areas,
Yeah.
because they're anticipating such a large tax increase that they want to organize. So as a group, they want to organize. They figure they can do it cheaper, easier than we can do it with them.
Yeah,
So
I've arranged to attend with one of the landowners in my area is gonna have, we're having a meeting on the 18th in East Millinocket with the Department of Revenue, to review those who want to challenge the level of assessment that is going on, so I'm gonna sit in on that just to see
They're
how that
in,
works.
They're in East Millinocket all day tomorrow.
Yeah, that's,
The Maine Revenue Service will be there by appointment. All these people have made appointments, there's somewhere near 100 appointments up there.
yeah.
And what's the appeal
Between 4
process in
o'clock.
the UT? If they don't get satisfaction with the meeting, what's their appeal process?
I don't know the appeal process.
So essentially, the appeal process is they say we want an abatement done. And then what they do is they take and actually, it's just like at your town, they'll actually look at your property separately instead of holistically in an area.
No, I know, but if they don't get, what's the next step if they aren't happy with the result of that? Do they-
We don't have an
Does it go
appeals
to
board.
Superior Court?
No, there's no appeals board.
So it
We'd have
goes
to go to the
court.
state
Yeah.
court system.
I will say, I'm actually glad that George brought that up, because that's one of the other things that has come up, is reorganizing unorganized territories. So the last plantation, because that's the first step in a municipality, the last plantation that was founded in the state of Maine was over 120 years ago. So it's not something that we can go back and go, hey, you worked on this one, what happened? So I have found the statutes. I am putting some informational papers together on it, because believe it or not, the process to organize is a lot easier than to de-organize.
Okay.
And it involves this U3 very much in that process. You have to write the warrant to do it.
Okay,
We'll keep you posted.
thank you.
Yeah,
Other questions for Mr. Jones?
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you again.
Appreciate it, good to have you here.
Thank you.
George, I believe we have reached an hour at which we could have the public hearing on the cannabis ordinance.
Yes.
So we'll open that public hearing. Take it away.
A few months ago, quite a few months ago, we came to you with what does Penobscot County want to do in the unorganized territories? And a bunch of research said that in order for us to have adult use cannabis here, that we had to opt in. You actually had to opt in, and what are you going to allow in that opt-in? So during that whole process, we wrote up what would be an ordinance and what would be an application to apply for the license to have an adult use cannabis facility. So we've actually had a group of individuals in the greater Millinocket, just outside Millinocket area, that have anxiously been waiting for us to opt in. They currently run a medical cannabis facility, and they'd like to have an adult use cannabis facility, but we have to do this one task first. Part of having this opt-in is that we had to have a public hearing, and that's where we're at today.
Okay,
I believe somebody may or may not be here to speak for and possibly against it.
thank you. Do we have anyone online that you're aware of? Okay, so at this point, we would entertain comments from any that are here in favor of the proposed ordinance for the unorganized territories for recreational cannabis sales and cultivation, or is it just sales?
It's sales, cultivation, I don't have the paper in front of me.
Yeah.
It's everything except social club.
Okay,
Manufacturing and testing.
thank you very much. I knew there were a couple other things here. Okay, so anyone present who wishes to speak in favor of the proposed ordinance? And again, nobody's joined us online. Okay. At this point, is there anyone who wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed cannabis ordinance? Is there anyone who wishes to speak neither for nor against? Before we close the hearing, I might ask if the sheriff would like to add any observations from his interaction with other sheriffs who have had this situation.
Thank you, Commissioners. My only concern at all about it is, as you saw, we've had a lot of illegal growing operations that have taken place, and they've targeted particularly rural areas. What we have found, though, is that both the adult use and medical use by residents of Maine have fully complied. They've followed licenses, they've done all the things, they allow for inspections, and we've had little to no problem with those organizations. As a matter of fact, in testimony last year during the session, I had folks from both arenas, adult use and medical use, standing with me testifying against these illegal out-of-the-country grows. Those are our concerns, and so I don't have concern about this ordinance, but do know that even in this session, there are still bills pending that may affect these ordinances that either impact them one way or another. And one of those is a residency requirement that would potentially require somebody to own a property or live, be a Maine resident for 5 years to apply for licensing. So there's the ordinance, obviously, towns have it, and unorganized towns, but then you have to apply to the state to get these. Our concern was that some of the illegal operations were simply clearing these places out, even though they had been under investigation, are going to the state and being licensed. And they were doing it right under the noses of towns that had ordinances in places, and really, it puts a tremendous burden on the town to fight those, to get those to stop. And so there are a couple bills out there still floating, just to make you aware of that. Other than that, believe it or not, we have really no concerns with the adult use. It's been regulated. We have very little interaction with our office. As you may or may not know, the Maine Sheriff's Association has the contract with the state to actually do inspections for these facilities, and it's better than better than the alcohol sales as far as inspections go.
Sheriff, I'm gonna have a meeting I think it's next week up in Woodville, same thing. These illegal marijuana operations, these particularly by Chinese nationals, not Mainers, not residents. The language that you put in obviously is targeted for that. One of the things, and I want to get your opinion on this, when it comes to local ordinances, the problem is Augusta giving these permits out without really knowing what's happening on the ground. You know, they're in Augusta, they don't know what's happening, they don't know who's who, And so it's my understanding that one of the ways they can effectively do that available to us today for municipalities is via their local ordinances regarding zoning. Local zoning ordinances that address this. Does that have applicability, or how does that impact the state issuing it from Augusta?
See, I think that's the path that we should take. There's been several paths in trying to address, again, we're trying to separate these because we don't want to impact businesses that are paying for a license, paying their taxes, being inspected, doing everything legally. We don't want to impact them negatively, but that's why they stood with us, right? Because they know that these folks from out of the country are coming in and doing this, and they're actually stepping all over ordinances, town rules, and state law. So I would hope in the processes of the licensing, and this is the feedback that we've been given the licensing committee, is they should be going back to towns, unorganized territories, or the towns to have reviews of some of those licenses as well, to make sure that there's not conflicts. Again, we have literally had places under investigation, setting on them, watching them, preparing a warrant, only to have the state license it while we were actually there. And that took place in Greenbush, well-reported case in Greenbush.
I want to congratulate you because those who may not know, I believe we had 40 operations in Penobscot County, and it's down to 10, if I'm correct.
That's right.
And much credit is due to you and other law enforcement agencies in addressing this.
Commissioner, if I could just add, that the concern is so far beyond marijuana. It's not just the marijuana plants itself. I worry for our rural, unorganized territory fire departments. You talk about having a joint regional fire department in those rural areas. These men and women are going to what they believe is a rural home that could have caught on fire. And if you've seen what has been done to the inside of what looks to be on the outside simply a rural home, that they've been cut up inside into multiple rooms. Some of the rooms are cut halfway up the room. So if you have a 8-foot ceiling, some of the rooms have a platform 4 feet high through the middle of the room so that there can be multiple tiers of growing. Can you imagine a firefighter running into one of these buildings thinking there could be a family in a rural area in Penobscot County or somewhere in our state, and the place is on fire because the wiring is so dangerous, the heat is so intense, the water that goes into these really puts people at risk. So the health conditions that we saw, the potential of human trafficking, this is so far beyond marijuana. And again, I think that's why you saw the folks that are trying to do this legally have been supportive of us to say we need to shut down where it's illegal. So I support, obviously, your ordinances. I just hope that the state at the licensing phase would consider towns and unorganized territories to at least ask you before these permits are issued. And essentially, you're gonna end up fighting with them. We saw this in the town of Hamden, where they're trying to battle because they put it in place, there's an ordinance in place. It's not, the law enforcement can't immediately take action. So the town has to battle it through an ordinance, which means you, the government, are gonna pay for attorneys to battle an ordinance, not the district attorney's office.
One of the other things that I want to address, other than the point you just made, is also cost. I think it's anticipated the cost of the illegal marijuana operations is about $1 billion, north of $1 billion. That money and those profits, which normally, if they were licensed, would be going to the state of Maine, that money's going to the Chinese Communist Party, and it's money's outside the benefit of any American. So it's not only the financial. I mean, there's so many aspects of this issue that are absolutely wrong. And the state is not in my opinion, the state is not an equal partner in a responsible enforcement of our marijuana laws, and they need to step up. Yes, Lord.
Ooh,
Try again.
Thank you.
Okay.
I was just texting you.
I just turned it down.
We just turned it back on.
Yeah, I was just gonna have Brandon turn down his mic just a little bit. It seems to be really sensitive and picking up.
Well, he's a
Yeah,
sensitive type of person.
my ESPN wasn't quick enough.
I'm presuming when you mentioned cost, you had meant revenues that come in.
Lost revenues.
Yeah.
Lost revenues.
You had probably also meant that it is assumed this money goes to the Chinese Communist Party.
Well, no, people may assume it, I'm pretty much sure it's where it's going.
Okay. At this point, do we have anyone else who wishes to speak neither for nor against on the ordinance? I will close the public hearing. At this point, I would entertain any actions the commission might like to take. I would make the observation based on the sheriff's comments that there could potentially be changes to how permits are issued and requirements for residency of those said new permits. Do we know if that will be retroactive or is it not?
I don't know how that will work, Commissioner, and the truth is, if you have an ordinance in place, it's gonna remain in place. I recommend that you go with the ordinance. I think the work that they've done is due diligent.
Do we have a residency requirement for the UT in our ordinance, to your knowledge?
No,
No, you don't know, or no, we don't?
no,
have?
we don't have.
We don't have.
You could put a business in the UT and not be a resident.
Understood.
Two things is, we need to opt in, which is the key ingredient here, which is why this short note that you guys will sign if you opt in. It says that you will allow adult use cannabis, retail, cultivation, manufacturing, and testing facilities. Do you need to exclude any of those?
When we first brought up the ordinance, I didn't have strong feelings either way. My only concern when you talk about UT is not the, I didn't think it would have a big demand for sales because I didn't think there'd be a big population in UT to be buying it. But if people, this ordinance is here because somebody wants to open a facility in the UT.
A retail facility, yes.
Retail facility. My concern has always been about the growth facilities, and that's where people that aren't as legitimate, I would think when I go to UT, you can get cheap land there, you can not be in the public eye as much. And we passed an ordinance in Bangor which allows it. I'm not sure, I think we might have a grow facility in Bangor, but initially we had a lot of retail locations, and we had a number of those actually have closed. Because
Yeah.
we had a saturation of retail
Yeah.
in Bangor, so, I'm fine with this. I don't know if we need to, I'd be okay if we restricted some of the growth. What are the other ones?
Through the ordinance, the Office of Cannabis Policy is going to help regulate these things. Once we opt in and adopt the ordinance, they are going to be the first line of inspection on these people to make sure everything's run, either cultivation, retail, or otherwise, is run according to the Office of
And
Cannabis
then
Policy.
they all come back to us to be approved at the end of the day?
I look at it like it's a liquor license.
Yeah,
It's the same thing. We authorize them to have this facility there, but they're governed by
Right.
another body.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I would move that we approve the proposed ordinance for cannabis use
Including all of the cited.
at this time. We can always opt out.
Yeah, sometime, I don't know about how hard it's gonna be to change, I didn't ask those
Yeah.
questions, but it, by voting in the affirmative to opt in, you would allow those facilities.
That would include growth, testing, and
Cultivation, retail,
Manufacturing.
manufacturing, and testing,
Retail, cultivation, manufacturing, testing.
yeah.
And I believe each one has to have its own license and
Yes.
oversight of the state.
The application
So if you
for each
open
of
up a
them.
retail, you can't open up the other
Right.
ones, you have to, okay.
They're independent of one another?
And
Okay.
the only other thing for review is the actual amount we charge for the application. We talked a little bit about the cannabis store being $5,000 for the application. We talked how Piscataquis County breaks it out differently. It's $3,000 for over 2,000 feet and $2,000 for under 2,000 square feet. I didn't know if you wanted to make a change in the application or accept the application the way Redmond and Winchell wrote it up. It doesn't matter either way, I don't believe.
I would be interested in seeing what the legislature does likely in the next week on these actions. Is there a feeling that we could postpone a vote on this until next meeting? Or a later meeting, or is that a problem that would impact?
Well, it hasn't been submitted.
True.
A lot, okay, good. I don't see, other than we've kicked this football down the field quite a while now, I don't see any reason we couldn't wait another 2 weeks.
I don't feel like we're denying people in unorganized territory the ability to
Right.
travel to a recreational facility. It comes down to a business that we're still trying to get our arms around the impacts on the unorganized territory.
And I'm not sure which LDs we should be following to come up with the decision for the next 2 weeks.
I'd be okay as long as it's no later than the first meeting in July. I don't want to put this, I mean, I think we need to get this settled, so
I
the first meeting in
understand
July.
that. Okay. So would I entertain that as a motion to table action on this
To
until the
To the
first meeting in July? I have a motion and a second to table action on the cannabis ordinance until the first meeting in July. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So I assume the other two items you have here could wait until we get
Yes,
further information.
yes.
Okay. Do you have, other than the TIF committee discussion, do you have any other UT business to bring before us?
No, we've taken quite a bit of your time already.
Well,
We're all
it's
set.
important. You
It's
have-
important to note that a few months ago, we decided to try to sell the town office fire department property in Drew. We finally got all of the junk vehicles out of there and most of the trash. So we're getting ready to post that as an RFP so people can send in their bids.
Great.
So sometime in the next month and a half or so, we should be able to open.
We still have a salt shed up there, right?
We don't have a salt shed in Drew, no.
Where's the nearest salt shed to do?
Prentice.
So at this point, you're just informing us that no action that needs to be taken.
No, I just given you an update. That's
Good,
all.
thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones, if you want to relinquish your seat, I believe we have some TIF committee members who want to join us.
I think we only have D, right?
Oh, just D? Okay, that's enough, I guess.
Good morning.
Good morning, thanks for joining
Good
us.
morning.
We're going to assume that the discussion we had was beneficial.
Very, very.
Thank
In
you.
fact, some of the points came up during our conversation last Thursday, so it was nice to have some guidance and looking forward to more.
Okay, take it away.
So the first, I'm gonna flip-flop the order of requests just because one, I think, will be a quicker discussion.
Sure.
The Penobscot County Regional Communications Center recently acquired a new tower site in the town of Patton for $195,000. A request was brought before the TIP committee asking for a discussion and approval to provide grant funding towards supporting this purchase. And based on the list of towns and areas that were submitted with the request, the unorganized communities make up 38 of the 47 total who will directly benefit from this purchase. All members of the committee agreed that it made sense to formulate the funding to be provided from the UT TIF funds as follows. 80% of the area serviced is unorganized territories, with 20% made up of the other 9 organized communities. The committee discussed that this is a much-needed purchase and will aid greatly in the communication within those territories. So therefore, the TIF committee voted unanimously in favor of providing 80% of the funding, which equates to $156,000 of the $195,000 purchase.
Okay. So we have a recommendation from the TIF committee. Do we have a motion regarding this action?
Got a question first.
Okay.
Something, I guess was probably discussed when we had that meeting a few weeks ago, but Commissioner Cushing mentioned something this morning. Did we initially have a cap on how much you could get for, was it 100,000?
In the early days, yes,
And
we
we've
had,
done away with
originally,
that.
the application had a $100,000 cap.
Have we discussed having a cap again as part of these discussions?
It was part of our overall conversation during our last meeting after we met with you guys, and we were planning to come back and meet with you guys again.
Is there a figure that we were floating?
We didn't, we did not.
We didn't put a figure on it because it seemed likely that there were exceptions made. First request was made with an exception, and many have been, so I think putting a cap on it presents just more opportunity for exceptions if we come on a first, as-is or case-by-case basis is what I'm thinking of.
Move to approve the recommendation of the TIF committee.
Are you thinking of at some point establishing an upper end, the committee?
I think there was discussion in regards to a potential yearly cap on certain funds, but not a specific fund, individual.
Just to stay on course, if we can second the motion before us, and then I think some further discussion could take place. But I've got a motion, do I have a second on the $156,000 for the tower for PRCC?
No?
Any further discussion regarding the tower proposal? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
We want to thank Chris for his patience. He came to us several months ago asking for this, and we're just getting back to review it.
Sure. Before we go into the ambulance discussion, do we want to choose a date for a follow-up meeting with the TIF committee to review some of the discussion that went on there?
I believe we were hoping to in July, was when we met last. The conversation was to give some time to review.
Is that gonna be at a regular commissioners meeting?
We don't know.
We can,
It's up to the,
I think
I would,
we'll-
I would recommend after the meeting,
yeah.
like we had planned the prior time,
You're gonna
that
switch
that
to
would work
Wednesday,
best.
right?
I believe that's under the administrative discussion, yes. So,
That's good.
July or August, whatever fits
yeah,
for you
I think
guys.
what would be helpful is if we have some notes that came from that, if we could just send them to the full commission and the.
We're, after our conversations at the TIF committee, we're putting together a tick list of all the stuff we talked about and trying to come up with recommendations for you guys to say yay or nay to.
Yeah, I think one of the points that stood out to me is what we now anticipate will be the total amount that will come from the TIF and how we divide that out over the length of the current period and whether some of that money should be considered as a revolving nature. We've never done loans or revolving grants. That might be a way to extend the life for some of these projects that we recognize. So having an inventory of what we have supported, then we can reflect on what may be capital replacement needs, i.e. some of the equipment that has been used in the UT for trail work or other projects that we know will eventually need to be replaced. And if we decide a portion of that money would be beneficial to extend the life, maybe there's a revolving aspect to it that we look at.
We talked quite a bit about loans.
yes.
Yeah. I know it's not something that warms the hearts of those who have to maintain them, but I think it's in relationship to what it means to have some money, it might be a good part of the discussion. Anyway,
We'll make sure you get a list of all the things that we tried to recommend.
I know you personally put that together for us, won't you, George?
Yes, I will. After Tina types it out.
Okay, if you want to move on to the next item on your agenda.
Yes, so the next one is the Town of Patton Ambulance Service submitted an application requesting grant funding of $46,854 from the TIF district to purchase a 1-ton pickup truck to aid the department in hauling its enclosed trailer, which houses its recreational rescue equipment currently. A 1-ton pickup truck would provide safe, adequate hauling of the department's rescue side-by-side, UTV, its snowambulance, which I thought I had a typo there at one, and the vital equipment in which it houses inside the trailer. I want to make note that the town of Patton approved $10,000 towards the total purchase price, which was originally $56,854.
George, how many contracts does Patton cover in the UT?
We have one major contract, and on the back sheet, you'll see that it covers the area that it covers. There's like 18 of our townships. I've got the director on the phone. He's having trouble with his audio and other, so I've just got him on speakerphone.
All right, thank you.
The service from this, the service from this department and equipment provides close to half of the unorganized territories with service in this area, and the committee agreed that the 1-ton truck would provide safe hauling of the vital equipment. The application stated that the current that currently the department is relying on personal half-ton trucks owned by members of the department. Asking them to haul this loaded trailer creates a high potential for damage to not only personal vehicle, the trailer, the equipment, and also delays in response time. The committee discussion included the responsible parties knowing the gross vehicle weight of that trailer, or should have, and included that need for the required equipment to haul at the time of the original request and presentation. So let me just make note that they did come last year and ask for funding for this trailer to haul this equipment. So that was noted at the committee meeting. The committee understands the need for the equipment is essential to provide support and life-saving equipment to the hard-to-access areas. The committee felt the town of Patton and fire and EMS have come to the district for multiple requests, which again, we've discussed before, and we'll need to have further discussions about how many times do we give to the same group. The service that the town of Patton and fire EMS provides not only to the residents of the unorganized territories, but it also supports 5 surrounding towns, and the committee felt they should help with the cost as well. After much discussion, the committee came to a unanimous decision. They would approve 60% of the asking amount, which equated to $28,112. The remaining 40% should come from the support and aid of either the 5 surrounding towns. It also was mentioned that this service is provided to the Katahdin Woods and Waters Monument area, which was reported to have seen over 40,000 visitors last year. The question was raised by a couple of the committee members if the commissioners would consider using possibly some of the PILT funding for this purchase needing. The committee agreed that the 60% would also be a conditioned approval and require a minimum of a 3-year contract of service to the area with no increase for service other than the standard CPI increase. This was a very long part of our discussion when we met in regards to there needs to be, some help, the commitment from the group, whether it's fire and service or ambulance service. These UTs rely on this service greatly and it's needed. So we need to ensure that they're going to get the service needed after giving these funds.
I think in my opinion, in terms of the collaborative effort that they've offered, I am supportive of the recommendation. One observation I have is, does the town of Patton's department have in their budget a proposal to cover repairs and maintenance of the vehicle?
Yes.
Yes, they
They
do.
do.
They do. So the breakdown was, the request was 56,854, 10,000 coming from the town of Patton, 28,112 coming from the TIF, leaves an amount due of 18,742.
Do we know if they have feedback from the other communities yet who are part of that coverage area?
That's right.
Chief, I don't know if you can hear us or not.
Brad, I don't know if you heard that question, but have you brought this purchase up to any of the other towns to help pay for the remaining amount? Brad?
As of this point now, I have not had an opportunity to discuss that with them.
Not yet, he hasn't.
Understand.
I think he was waiting to see what we did before he went further. The reason we brought payment in lieu of taxes up was because this is the only ambulance service that covers all of the monument.
My question.
That's very important. They've just built that new $36 million or whatever it is, visitor center or something in there. I'm sure that's going to bring even more people in, and the more people you bring in, the more opportunity you have for ambulance calls.
What are the fees they charge for the Woods and Water Monument?
I don't believe they have much of a gate there to take fees.
Okay.
But when we met with the Woods and Waters Monument 2 years ago, we were asking for money to help with fire and ambulance. And they sent us back to remember, we pay you guys payment in lieu of taxes. So, and that was supposed to be used for fire, ambulance, law enforcement, services that the park is going to need.
Would be interesting, Tina, if we had the valuation that is placed on that land and compared to what we get paid by the federal government in PILT versus taxes. I believe it's somewhere around $1 an acre.
That's interesting. I can ask the Maine Revenue Service for those.
I'd be very interested in receiving that as we further our discussions with our federal partners that provide free access that doesn't cost them as much as it costs the county and the UT. But just my own.
Discussion for another day, but
And
we'll
that
bring
is,
it back to your
And
attention.
that visitor center is seasonal, right? They close up winter time, right?
I don't know much about it. Amy might. Amy's in the room and she probably knows more about it.
Amy, do they close up in winter time?
I honestly don't know during the winter times. I know that the National Monument is open to snowmobiling, but as far as a gate, there's no gate. There's no fee. It's not like Baxter State Park where you have to stop at a checkpoint or anything like that, so I do know that.
Which is a pretty well-run facility up there that supports itself, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and as far as I actually have a hard time pronouncing it, but yes, the facility that you guys are talking about, I don't believe that any fees or any registration to use the National Living Waters is taken there. I believe it's just a free public operation.
Understood. Free to those who attend, not necessarily free to all of us. Anyway, George, back on target here.
Yes.
I guess my observation would be, let's approve the recommendation of the TIF committee today. See what occurs with interaction with the other towns to see if they would contribute something to the final cost. And then we could revisit any potential use of PILT money after that.
Did you follow that, Brett? Brett?
I did, yes, I did, yes, I did copy that.
Okay, he just wants to make sure that you've asked your other organized towns for help, and maybe even Aroostook County, because you have 4 of their townships, and then come back to us and let us know what you found out.
One of my other observations would be, this truck will not last forever. It might be helpful if there were consideration of some reserve fund. I'd probably be more receptive to using PILT money if I knew that they were building a little bit of a reserve in some manner to cover the future replacement of that truck.
I know service was included in the application, but that wasn't.
Yeah.
So, Brett, part of this approval of this TIF money is that for 3 years, you can only get a CPI increase on our contract for ambulance.
But I guess what I'm saying is, as we look at the PILT money,
Right.
if there were an incentive in there to us that they were reserving money in some manner, I'd be more receptive to the use of the PILT money. That's just me. I'm not making that as.
I'll get with Brett on that.
Yeah.
After the fact and come back, next time when he comes back, we can talk about how they're gonna set up a reserve fund for that,
No.
if they would.
It's not a requirement, but it is certainly going to,
Be beneficial if you did it with PILT money.
we have to be realistic about some of these things and
Okay.
what happens, so.
Are you all set with that, Brett? Anything else you wanna say?
No, I get with you, George, on the CPI. I was a little confused on that, but
Yep, okay.
But today we will authorize, I don't want to speak
I
for
would
my
move
colleagues.
approval of the TIF recommendation for the one-time pickup.
60%,
Sorry. So we have a motion to approve TIF funds being used for 60% of the purchase price of the vehicle,
Of the
The request.
request,
of the request, excuse me.
$28,112.
What happens if the price of that vehicle goes up at the time they buy
I
it?
guess you guys better make a decision quick on the other funds.
Let's move quickly.
Yeah,
All right, so we have a motion to approve 60% of the request for the half-ton pickup truck for Patton. Any further discussion?
We just note that it's nice, they're buying it locally in Lincoln, and it's a good price for a one-ton truck for $46,000. It's
our,
nice.
the county, when the UT bid, he was listening to us open our bids and found out from them that he could get the same price, so we helped him
Super.
find the truck.
Great, okay. So a motion, have a second, no further discussion. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous of those present. Congratulations, you're a step closer.
All right, Brett, I'll talk to you later today.
thank you.
Unless you've got anything else you want to say.
No, I appreciate the vote today and all the kids' work on this project.
Yep, thank you for your patience. I'll talk to you later, thanks.
Okay. It would be helpful to Mr. Administrator if we could get an updated total from you or Brenda on what is in the PILT reserve and what we're anticipating we will get every year, recognizing that no federal money is guaranteed, although the expenses associated with it apparently are. George, do you have anything else you'd like to?
I think we got enough public service announcements here today.
Dee, do you have anything further you'd like to?
I'm good, other than we'll try to establish a time in July to meet with you and discuss further the conversation. But thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay. At this point, I believe the Northern Workforce Development Board has been patiently waiting and is ready to come forward.
Water. Stand up, chairs. All right.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning. Who do you bring with you today, Galen?
Wow, we've got some support here.
Okay.
This is Brianna Lavin. She works for the MPC, and she's the youth advisor. So she's going to talk
MPC is?
at EMDC, Eastern Maine Development. Yeah.
Thank you.
So she's going to be talking about youth programming this morning. And I'm really happy that Nikki Fletcher, who is our chair for the Northeastern Workforce Development Board, is here to introduce you to Commissioner Marshall, who's now CEO, appointed CEO to the board, and everyone else. And if you have any questions for Nikki as the chair, I'm sure she'd be happy to respond. She's been a chair for over 10 years now, so I just wanted to.
I came back a second time.
Okay.
And then we have down on the end there, Amy Collinsworth. She is a member of the board as well, one of our newer members, and represents economic development out of the Makatadan area. So
Yes, she
I'm
may
sure
be
many of you
the
know
one
Amy.
twice.
So
Do you
I'm
ladies
actually.
have your microphones on? And here we go. Okay,
I don't
thank
need a
you.
microphone, I'm loud enough.
Okay.
So we actually last Thursday had a NWDB quarterly board meeting and recognized a few individuals for their contributions to some of the initiatives and activities we have going on. And we did the meeting virtually. Knew we were going to be here on Tuesday, and that wanted to coincide in an opportunity to actually present Amy with a certificate of appreciation for her contributions to the board. We've been trying to develop training. Being a local area workforce board is very complicated, and so Amy played a key role in working with Morgan Lane, who's an executive assistant for the board, to develop some trainings for new members and refresher training for older members, and she contributed a lot of time to pulling off a really nice presentation and an ongoing training program for us. So we're very grateful for Amy being a part of that as a newer member, and wanted to recognize her this morning here publicly. So
Terrific.
May I present this?
Certainly, and I think we have a semi-professional photographer here.
We have a professional photographer here, all right.
Okay,
How about that?
all right.
My group for all of us.
Put the rows in between, the rows in between the thorns. The rows in between the thorns.
Right over here, yes.
Sure.
Right over here.
There you go.
Move the chair out of the way.
Oh,
Okay, everyone, now look intelligent. Try again.
Marianne, tip it the other way. Tip it the other way. Yeah, there you go. There we go. I got a tip. Yay!
Thank you. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
there you go.
It's all free.
It's all free.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You're quite welcome.
I was gonna say, don't sit, yeah, there you go.
Well, the chairs will be
I would hate to.
So, what I'm hoping we can do is just give you a broader overview of what the board has been up to, and then turn it over to Bree to talk about some of the youth activities we have happening.
Great.
So just starting out, we are ending our fiscal year 2024-25, and we are actually, the way that WIOA funds come in, they are awarded for a 2-year period. So we have actually spent down our PY23 funds and started into our PY24, which is really good. That means we don't have to turn money back to the state. And that would be in both our youth programming, our dislocated worker programming, and our adult programming. So we didn't use as many funds as we had anticipated under our dislocated worker funds. So we are able to easily transfer funds between adult and dislocated worker with the permission of MDOL. And so they allowed us to transfer about $75,000 over to the adult because we just didn't have the need for the dislocated worker. So that, we're really happy about that. We never want, our goal is to never turn money back. We want to make sure it gets out there to the participants, so
Any
super
chance
happy
you could
about it.
use that money for equipment for public safety?
Yeah, right. I don't know where it goes after it leaves us, so I think it goes back and it helps Maine Job Link. We also, just a quick update on the budget for new allocations this year. We are waiting to get the board allocations. I know the state has received their allocations for all the WIOA programs in Maine, and we're anticipating a 10% reduction across the board. So we are going to have to make some adjustments, obviously, that for us translates into about $168,000 between program and administrative funds. So we're looking at our budgets at this point, but we know it's going to have an impact. That it could have been a lot worse, but at the same time, with the small budget we already have, that will have a pretty significant impact on us. At the last quarterly board meeting on the 12th of June, we are coming to the end of the fiscal year, and we wanted to make sure we had a budget in place. So the board passed an interim budget that looks very similar to the 2024-25 budget, and until we get our allocations to come in where we can finalize a budget, and then we will hopefully get a motion to pass that budget. But we're already starting to make some adjustments. We're going to have to cut back on Sarah McLaughlin's time. She's our financial consultant, so we're going to have to reduce some of her hours. We will not be able to retain Morgan Layton, who is the executive assistant at this point. She's been with us for just a year and has done a fantastic job for us, but we simply can't offer her a full-time position with the benefits that she's needing at this point in her life. And so we're going, she's moving on to take another full-time position in another workforce-related agency. So we're sad to see Morgan go. Her last day is on June 27th, but she'll be a partner of ours. I know she'll be working in the apprenticeship field, so we'll still get to see her as well. So right now, things could change, but we're looking at trying to keep someone on for 20 hours a week at about the $24 per hour range. In the meantime, until we fill that position, we'll contract with Rebecca Bryant, who's had extensive history in maintaining, programmatic operations and and all of that, and she's very familiar with the county here, and she'll be with us to help us get through the transition. We also have budgeted, and I know Scott had reached out yesterday about our contributions to some of the audits that have happened with Tim. We have $20,000 budgeted for that, and I talked to Sarah, and she said that if she can get the estimated hours that Tim spent on the NWDB portion, then we'd be more than happy to pay for any of that, and she was gonna look up what the last bill was.
Yeah, I have the amount. for the last one.
You got it,
Yeah.
okay. So we've got 2 of those audits that we've budgeted for this coming year, and this fiscal year as well.
You're referring to the legal fees that would be associated with that from Rudman Winchell.
No, I think we're talking about the actual audit fee.
Audit fee.
So the actual audit, so like we just finished 21, and, so we've gotten a bill for that, we received a bill for that. And 22 should be coming right behind it.
Yeah.
So I just, and then looking at past numbers, I see that NWDB had contributed, so.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll do our part.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
The treasurer thanks you for that.
Every little bit helps.
Yeah, as many know from, seeing the news, being in this community, both of the Job Corps centers are at risk of closure. There was actually a closure, there was a pause put on the contract for a very short period of time, and it was reinstated for another week, went to court. The National Job Corps Association filed a petition on behalf of all the Job Corps, thereabouts 99, to place an injunction on the pause. That was granted in a court in Albany, New York, until the 17th of June. So we are expecting at 3:30 this afternoon a hearing on whether the pause continues, whether there's a pause and a closure and a defunding of the Job Corps centers, or whether the funding is reinstated. There's a number of different ways that this could go. I've been in communication with both of the directors of at Loring and down here at Penobscot frequently, and trying to keep an eye on what our response will be as a WIOA partner. So the role the board's been playing is largely convening partners on a weekly basis to ensure that communication is flowing from the centers out into the community, and that contingency plans are being developed and considered in the event that the closure happens and we have a large displacement of students here in Maine and out of state, as well as a large number of staff who could be dislocated from the work. So the numbers, this is on the scale of a mill size. If you combine the 2 facilities, we're looking at about over 450 staff who could lose their livelihood, and well over 400 students between, well over 430 students between both of the Job Corps centers. So
who owns the Job Corps physical plants?
The federal government does.
Okay, so they're federal facilities.
Yeah. So we are in the midst of, we're in the midst of trying to provide a support for students who may need to transition, stay here in Maine. Actually, there's been Loring and Penobscot have 2 different looking populations. Loring is largely out-of-state youth, so about 70% of the youth are from out-of-state, 30% are from in-state, and that number's kind of flipped down here in Bangor, where about 70% are Maine residents attending Job Corps, and about 30% are out-of-state. So EMDC, community colleges, ACAP, Aroostook County Action Program, a lot of the partners are trying to make connection early with these students to work through transition plans, and hopefully we can connect with many of them so they just don't go back out into the community without a plan at all. And there are some situations where, I know the city of Bangor and a number of partners, particularly involved with sheltering homeless youth are concerned about the impact it could have on the shelter community. So there are contingency plans happening locally to figure out what's the best course of action if a large number of students end up in a homeless situation. So a lot happening and a lot of different concerned and interested folks who are thinking about both the staff dislocation and the student dislocation. Just a quick thing, we recently at the board meeting passed a new policy. We've spent a lot of time working on and updating our on-the-job training policy. Our past policy had a cap of $10.31 for reimbursement per hour for a participant in an OJT placement, and that $10.31 is a reimbursement to the employer. We changed that policy so that now we'll be able to offer up to half the average median wage earning, so which is in the state, it moves around each year, but right now it's in the $28 range, so we can reimburse an employer up to $14 an hour for their support of having a participant in an OJT. So I think that's going to be a really great incentive for employers to think about, hey, how can I help this individual and support them through an on-the-job training program. So I think that's going to be a real benefit for EMDC and for ACAP, who are setting these contracts up with employers. Also very happy to announce that we completed our 4-year local area workforce plan. And that is a very comprehensive, lengthy process to consider how we develop, consider what our future looks like. It's our guide for the next 4 years. Yeah. And it's based on data and analytics and trends around the economic conditions of this area and the employment and workforce trends. And so we really had a great participation from not just our core partners and our board members, but also from community and youth right across the 5-county area. So that was submitted to the state on time, which is always great, and they have 90 days to review that, and hopefully they approve. But I know initial feedback that I received from MDOL was that it was one of the best 4-year plans that they've been submitted, so we're very happy about some of the initial reports on that.
And I'd like to chime in and thank Galen for that, because he's not taking any of the credit for the work that went into that. That has always been a beast for us to do. Every time it comes around, and our partners at EMDC, the data that we got from them was immensely helpful in getting that through. But very nice work, Galen, and we appreciate it.
Thank you.
That's through the Department of Labor, right? State Department of Labor?
Yes, yeah. So we, when we develop these local area plans, we want the local intel, right? We want to know what's happening in the counties, in the rural areas, but we also want to ensure that it aligns with the state unified plan. So we try to find that balance between the two arenas that we play in, the state and the local. So very happy that that's behind us, hopefully. And one of the things that, just the big thing, and I think this is well known, is that, our struggle will be replacement demand. How we build the workforce, recruit talent, keep talent, for the replacement demand that we anticipate over the next 10-year period. And, say nothing about new job creation. We're anticipating that about 168,000 people will leave their position, either due to retirement or promotion or moving on to some other location. So we're looking at just 100, that's over 16,000 open positions a year just in this 5-county area alone. So the work is enormous, and hopefully, the contributions that we make through, the 1B programming, recruiting and upskilling young workers, dislocated workers, people who maybe have some tarnished employment backgrounds, help them get back into the workforce, because we're gonna need everyone we can possibly train. So that's all I have. Nikki, I don't know if you have anything else that you would like to?
I think, again, just our challenge being across 5 counties, that are incredibly, every single one is incredibly different from each other. And the work that goes into that, and also just the uncertainty of what's happening at the federal level and the impact that can have very quickly, is a huge challenge for us, and will continue to be a huge challenge for us for the next several years, probably, as we've seen in the past. So that will be one of our things, is just being able to react quickly and help those that are impacted in the best way we can with the funds that we have.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I'm going to just make one other statement, because this goes right into, segues into Brianna really well, is that we surveyed 300, we sent out surveys to our youth population. We got 300 responses back, and overwhelmingly, the number of youth that responded, we had a open-ended question, and it was, what is your dream job? And overwhelmingly, the young people in this area want to run their own business. Yeah, it was really remarkable. And in areas like, having their own automotive shop, having their own electrical business, having their own, carpentry business, their plumbing business. And so, the future bodes well. I mean, this is a big problem for us in talking about succession planning for many of the businesses that have been run by, maybe a sole proprietor, as an example. Having succession planning and young people who want to come in and take that risk on is super important, and we'll be tailoring some of our strategies over the next 4 years toward helping young people learn how to run a business and learn how to become young entrepreneurs. It's going to be an area we focus on. So that's how it all ties together. And I know Bree's working really hard with our youth population, and I'll let her share what's happening at EMDC.
Thank you, Galen.
Alrighty, good morning. So yeah, my main role realistically is to be frontline staff with, people that are coming in and are, classified as our youth demographic. So typically those individuals are 16 to 24. We do have individuals that are as young as 14 and 15. It all just kind of depends on what level and what place they are at in their life at that time. So as Galen had mentioned, with a lot of the things going on and being up in the air with Job Corps, it's been really important as EMDC and being a core partner with Job Corps to go in and provide that extra support for the ones that are being, could be possibly affected by what's going on. So I have been one of those individuals that has been in their front line and seeing it firsthand. And it is something that has required an extensive amount of support, not only from EMDC, but as Galen had said, the community colleges, ACAP. It's definitely not a one fix for a whole solution. So with that, we, as EMDC, we have been going in and what I call is providing triage, and maybe not answers, but expectations and maybe plans for what they could be doing next if, all else fails. So with that, we have gone in and have been pushing enrollments for youth to come and work with EMDC. While we obviously don't have the housing and financial support benefit, such as, paying for basic necessities like Job Corps can for the youth, we do very similar things with employment training, other support services and stuff like that. I know that within the first day of me being there, just me, myself, I did an intake with about 15 students. And these students were in all different walks of life. Some of them have completed their training, some of them are halfway done with their training, some of them just started their trainings. And a lot of them, they have the question of what's gonna come next, what do I do next? And as, a core partner, as much as we would love to have that answer, we don't have that answer. But what we do have is support, and that's the main thing that we can provide to these youth. So we're going in, like I said, getting them enrolled, and we understand that with, the possibility of having a risk of homelessness, unsuccessful completions of training, and overall just having youth falling in the gaps, and that's what we want to avoid. So I have been going in weekly, and will continue to do so until I'm told otherwise. And I am there from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Later, typically if needed, once a week. And any student is able to come in and talk with me, ask me questions, enroll in our program if that's what, is in their cards, or just overall learn more about what the future can hold for them. I can say that even the other day, like Galen had said, more in the Bangor area with our Penobscot Center, we're seeing more of that 70%, Maine residents and 30% of people that are out of state. I've been speaking with different workforce boards throughout the country. I was on the phone with the New Jersey one for probably about an hour and a half, getting a kid, registered and settled in with them. So it's not as simple as just, and we're not just focusing on getting them into our program. We want to make sure that if they are, not able to stay in the state of Maine, that they're having the proper resources there for them and set up once they have, landed where they are. And, there are also students that, they may have a place to go, but it's not an ideal situation for them. So we want to, explore those options. While we don't have immediate responses to, emergency housing situations, we have amazing core partners and community resources that we are very engaged with on a daily basis to ensure that we, can find those resources for youth. So overall, it's just that support aspect of going in and having them know, they have support, they have options, and that, just because of everything going on, that it doesn't mean that something can't be done. As it is, it's still up in the air, so we don't really know what is going to come from it. But we just know until EMDC is told otherwise, we are going to continue to be support for these students, regardless, like I said, whether they're staying in the state of Maine or whether they are leaving the state of Maine. They still deserve the same amount of success as any student would. So I think that it's important to just understand it on that aspect. But aside from that, Job Corps has been one of our biggest focus, probably over the past few weeks, month or so now. But we've also been doing a lot of good work with our other schools in the community, mainly Brewer High School. I'm a graduate of Brewer High School myself, and I feel very passionate about the work that we do with Brewer High School, and I'm very prominent about making sure that we're within that school. So we have been doing a lot specifically with the special education students at this time. They have been working with vocational rehab, and vocational rehab is an amazing program, and we wanted to kind of come in and see what we could do as a partnership with not only VR, but with, Brewer High School students as well. So I would say from October to now, we've probably done an intake of 15 to 20 students that have been in our special education program, and we have had students that have gone on and done work experiences. Specifically, I work very closely with the Brewer Public Library, and I have a 15-year-old there right now, and he has been doing absolutely phenomenal. He'll be there for 75 hours, and he is a library assistant. He has never worked. He has, barriers to employment that have made it very hard for him to do so on his own. But the library said that within his first 2 weeks, he has absolutely flourished, and they're very excited to have him there. So those are just, kind of the prime examples of some of the things that we're doing. We also, focus on resume building. A lot of those students have never, really experienced what employment is like or what the world of getting started in employment is like. So, we put them through what is called our Young Mainers Workforce Program, and that is a 5-week online program that they can choose to do 2 times a week with us, or they can choose to do it at their own pace. We like the more, group thing because we can kind of keep track of it a little bit better, but we understand that not all youth have access to technology, internet. There could be 100 million reasons why they can't do it at the set times that we have. So we like to try to be transparent and flexible with them in that aspect. But they come on, they get a total of about 15 to 20 hours of, pre-workforce training, and they learn about interviewing skills, resume development, cover letters, conflict management, conflict resolution, conflict resolution, all of those kinds of things, and we pay them a stipend of $283 to do so. We have had this done during the school day, so the students have felt that they are getting paid to go to school, so that's kind of an incentive for them, something they've never had before. Because of the great work from Brewer High School, the teachers that we have worked with, specifically Brandy Butterfield, she has been absolutely amazing in ensuring that this partnership is not only successful, but it can continue. We just actually 2 or 3 weeks ago, we took another 7 or 8 students in, and they're in the process of finishing up their enrollments and getting ready to get started to do the same pattern of things with us. And then lastly, the one other really big success that I would like to share is from our Bangor Housing Authority, specifically the maintenance department. I shared this story at the board meeting, and it was just something that I really like to, hyperfixate on because it's just a really good success story for me. I had a young man who was justice involved and had some barriers to becoming employed due to that, but also he needed some reunification on his soft skills and mainly conflict resolution. So he started off by going through that Young Mainers Workforce Program, successfully completed that, earned the stipend of $283, and then we continued to work on his resume, some interviewing skills, and then we knew that what was next was a work experience. So we did some digging. He had some prior work experience as a mechanic, knows that he likes to work with his hands, but wanted to focus more on the carpentry aspect. So I had a great idea. I had a really good connection with the maintenance department at Bangor Housing because I had another individual there about a year prior, and they were fully willing to take my individual on for 170 or 125 hours to start off with. So he started off by just going on doing basic maintenance. He started off as a level 1 mechanic. We as EMDC, we provide the wages, we provide the insurance, everything like that. So they are an employee of EMDC, but the host site takes them on and treats them as an employee. So he went on, and then at the end of his 125-hour mark, we had the option to extend for another 175 hours because we have 300 hours to allocate. So we met with the host site. The host site had absolutely adored him, had really enjoyed having him there. Offered him an extra 175 hours full time. So he was working 40 hours a week for 175 hours. And he actually just completed last Friday. And unfortunately, with some funding issues and just everything else at this time, they don't have the option for another position. But this individual is staying in their pool. And they said as soon as the position opens up, they will be giving me a call to get back in contact with him. So, other than just, those little successes, we have more successes than I could, even talk about on a day-to-day basis. And any success, whether big or small, we still like to capture it because it's all part of their growth path. But that's really, my main focus being frontline staff is getting to watch these successes and then share these successes with the community so we can really see, the work that's done on the ground and not just in data.
Thank you very much. Any questions?
That I like these. I like that. The success stories for these at-risk students. That's very big with me. And you mentioned they meet twice a week. Is that on-site or remote?
So it is remote. So we, the platform we utilize is Google Classroom. And the reason why we chose that, one, is because it's easy to navigate for us, but it's also easy for the youth to navigate because it's what schools use.
That's exactly what I was concerned with.
Yeah.
So that's a great option.
Yeah.
That they get. Thank you.
Yeah.
I would just, a couple of questions. One, how long have you been the youth advisor?
So I started, actually July 31st of this year will be 2 years. So I came on as the youth advisor, not necessarily holding a caseload just because I was fresh out of high school and was not quite there yet. So then after a few months of working very hard and I would say proving myself that I could maintain a caseload, I was offered a workforce development specialist role, and I have had a caseload since then and have continued to do so.
Okay. So that's, I am just very impressed with the presentation. No notes, I mean, knowledge of what you're talking about, and your passion for it is very evident. So, and I mean, I don't want to give away anybody's secrets or ages, but I understand you're not even 20 years old yet. So this is very, very impressive.
Yes, I'll be the 22nd of July.
Yeah.
I'm not quite there yet, so almost.
Very, very impressive.
Happy early birthday.
Flex well into it.
Her birthday's this week.
Oh.
Any chance that you could head south, maybe Augusta? Never mind.
We'll keep the,
I like it
You
here.
can't have her.
Yeah. I'm
Stay
just
on
saying,
your
send
side
them
of
to
the table,
steakhouse till
Scott.
they're done, and then, yeah. Then come back. I want you back, yeah.
Okay.
Be commissioner someday.
Yeah.
Hey, Brenda, what type of professions or trades are you finding that you're having some of your better success in?
I'm gonna say the hands-on, and specifically, I will say welding, construction, but also the healthcare as well, nursing, CMA, so just certified medical assistant, CNA, certified nursing assistant. It's a lot of that stuff that I'm seeing to see a lot more trends with, but one that I've started to see with over the past 6 months is IT. Technology has started to come up as a really another big thing that individuals are interested with. Just to add a little extra thing, and that kind of reminded me, I have a youth right now that is placed at Eastern Maine Development Corporation at our company in our IT department, and he's doing 125 hours, and then hopefully we'll extend the 175, but he's working right with our technology coordinator as his assistant, and he's working with our refurbished laptops and everything like that, because when we have individuals come through, maybe they're going through a training or something, we issue laptops to them, and everything like that. So he's in charge of cleaning out all the laptops, cleaning the hard drives, making sure that they're all ready, but also just any other, IT assistant needs. So that's kind of another caveat to that.
That's interesting. I know we at the county have been exploring internship options. I don't know if, since our IT director is here, whether there's anything that might catch his interest or be an opportunity, but we have a pretty busy and robust IT department here, HR as well, but IT, and there's always needs, so we're always looking at the pipeline for future employees too.
Awesome. I'll keep that in mind. Definitely keep you guys in my back pocket.
Yeah. Brandon is a distinguished gentleman sitting in the back there with.
Awesome, thank
How
you.
about food service and customer service?
I'm
Anyone
seeing,
who had those types of.
Send them my way.
the trend I'm seeing with that is that they're turning away from it. And I don't necessarily think that it's because they don't want to do it, but I think it's because when they come and work with us, we really, as I did with you, we really put everything on the table and show them, yes, we can definitely find a for now job if you're really in a, some type of, tight space and you really need some income, let's look at a for now job, but let's still focus on your goals. But some students, or not students, but individuals, they are able to be flexible and don't have those tight restraints. So a lot of the time they want to just shoot for the stars and realistically go big or go home. But in that, we have to teach them one step at a time and understand, what is the best first step and is this the best fit? But that's why we utilize work experiences and informational interviews, job shadows, and everything like that to give them really an opportunity to go on with something that has no strings attached. And if they, find that it's not for them, we tell them that it's just as important to figure out what you don't want to do as it is to what you do want to do.
Certainly. Really sucks to get a degree and find out you hate the profession you've done.
Exactly. That's what we want to avoid.
Good. Thank you for that. Nikki, I'm not sure if you're aware, you're sitting at the table with another distinguished Hudson graduate here. Do you?
Yes, I have a long history.
Okay.
We did be on a line together.
Alive, 2005,
Good deal.
Yeah.
I got just a follow-up about
Sure.
the Job Corps issue with Galen. Galen, with these Job Corps, I know it's federally owned sites, but they're out-of-state contractors now. I think they got the contract like a year ago. I understand they've got the funds still, so what are they doing with the funds? If they've stopped the program, what's going on with these out-of-state contractors?
So they have paused admissions. They've paused new admissions, and they've modified the contracts to be term limited. Right now, the term is to June 30th. That funding stream that was funding those contracts to June 30th were paused, and that's really what caused the major response. You've got 30 days to get everybody out. And so Loring essentially sent 170 students home within like about 4-day period. And they're on leave. What we're waiting to hear, and it could go a whole bunch of different directions. Of course, these contracts are in different time and dates. So right now, they're under the presumption that their contract is still in full force. But if this happens, if the order goes through, all of the funding will cease come July 1st. So it's a big deal.
And they're in their time frame where they would be working on admissions for their fall semester.
Yeah.
So with a pause, it leaves them a lot of uncertainty and not a lot of time to catch up.
Yeah.
For those fall admissions, if things were to
You're
continue.
talking about Loring as we're a 70-30 in-state, out-of-state. They're the flip, they're the 70 out-of-state. We're the 70% out-of-state. I mean, where are they from and where do they go as of that date?
I don't know the exact demographics. I know once upon a time,
Connecticut.
Yeah.
New Jersey.
New Jersey, New York, Florida was a big one for a while. And lots of them are leaving less than ideal conditions
If the
and don't
housing is
necessarily have something to
closed,
go to.
and there's no training, that they're heading home to.
They're heading home, they're staying here, they're being homeless.
Well, I guess that's.
There's a
my
whole
question.
host of,
Thank you all. Anything further? Thank you. I guess not. Appreciate it. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you.
Deanna, Gavin, Amy, congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Amy, another plaque on the wall.
I've got another one
They're
coming,
building
so.
up.
Okay. I believe we are ready now for our IT report. Director?
Nice job.
I said, give me whatever you would have given Peter.
I don't have anything in the file.
He used to be the table runner.
I think we're going to be reviewing the results of the RFP. Good day, sir.
Good morning. Yes.
It still is, yes.
Still. Yeah, so I'm just coming before you guys here to make my recommendation for the approval of the RFP for the website.
Okay.
After looking through, I believe it was the 25 or 26 submissions, I'm making the recommendation that we go with the company Revise. They were not the lowest bidder, but they were the lowest bidder that gave us the opportunity of developing an application, an app for the phone. They came in at $13,600 for the website.
And that is just design, that's not maintenance or?
No, so it would be $13,600 for the design and implementation of the website. It's $3,900 yearly for support and hosting fees. The nice thing with their yearly support is that there's no hourly cost. They have a 24/7 support through email, and it's 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for phone calls.
Where do we host our website now?
We host it on Wix.
Is there a fee for that?
There is, yeah. It's a $600 fee through Wix, but it's a little bit less user-friendly to set it up and manage and all of that. That's why we're trying to get away from it and have a actual person and people and group that knows what they're doing to build the website out.
It allows us to add or develop parts to it. It's not having to go through the designer.
Yeah, so the nice thing with going with a third party for support is the biggest one's ADA compliance. Most municipal government websites should be ADA compliant. We're skirting that line currently. Going with a third party vendor will make the website ADA compliant. Another reason why we would recommend going with third party is because they'll be able to get features at no extra cost. So one of the nice features that Revise has is, let me see. They had it in here. So one of the features that they have included is for online online applicant submissions. I know HR at one point had discussed trying to get the application online so people can just go to the website, fill out the application and get it sent in. That is something that Revise has as an option that we can build into the website. That would take a little bit more work for us to do it ourselves.
Okay. So we have a proposal from IT.
Just a couple of questions. Did we, when we evaluated them, I know we initially got these, we had ranges from 12,000 to probably in the $100,000 range. And did we, in evaluating the proposal, look at the ongoing cost as well? Like, I mean, this one you're recommending is 13 something, the low bid was 12.
Yep.
I mean, did we also look at the annual cost?
We did, yeah. So with the lowest bidder, which was the Sutherland Weston, their project cost was $12,000. It was $1,000 for a yearly hosting fee, but for support, it's $175 an hour. So for us to build out the website or add features later on, it would be at $175 an hour, which could get up to that hosting cost anyways.
Okay, no, I mean, that's helpful because, I mean, I think the recommendation is basically what's the best fit for us, but also cost-wise. And when you've got a local bidder that's a low bidder, I think you need to be able to justify why we're not going with that. And I'm fine with the justification.
Yeah, they also don't have an option for an app.
Right.
Which I think.
Right, that was a big thing, right?
Right.
So what we have before us is recommendation to go with Revise at $13,600 for design, and are you adding $3,900 a year for support and
yes.
hosting?
So one of the nice things with the Revise is they actually have a 4-year contract payment. They call it a payment plan in their proposal. So essentially it'd be the $13,600 divided by 3 plus the hosting costs. So we would be looking at $8,433 for 3 years. And then on year 4, it would just be the hosting fee of $3,900. But the nice thing is that at that year 4, we would get a free website redesign if we want it.
Okay.
So that's another little extra add-on that Revise has that I quite like.
Is there any benefit if we were to pay the full fee up front?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
We could certainly do it.
Yeah, but if they're willing to, I assume, is there an interest charge built into this?
It's interest-free for the payment plan. I would have to double check with them. If we paid it up front, I would have to double check with them to see if we would get the free website redesign at year 4. I don't believe that we would, which is why I'm kind of interested in going that route, just because it kind of opens up the opportunity of redesigning the website if we want to make changes or just get a free refresh, make it look a little bit different. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Some of us may need that.
That's right. Well, I would recommend we approve the recommendation.
So we have a motion to approve the recommendation to go with Revise for design and hosting of our website under their proposed 4-year interest-free payment program.
Second.
Have a motion and a second for the discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. Thank you for your help with that.
Thank you so much. Just a quick little thing, just because I'm really happy about it. So recently we upgraded our firewalls. We actually bought 2, so they're high availability and redundant. This past Thursday at 11:30, I actually did firmware updates, and it seamlessly transferred over to the secondary and back with absolutely no internet loss. And PRCC said they didn't even notice. So I'm quite happy with that implementation.
Will we be able to have a squash court for that second firewall?
We can.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate your work and the time you put in here. Thank you.
Chair, if I could, before we go to the next item, we have, of course, we have Attorney Hamer and the union here.
I
We're
did
already
see.
past an agreed upon 10:45 mark.
Oh, are we? Okay.
I stretched it with, let them know that it would be
Understood.
10:30-ish, so.
Okay. Well, we don't want to keep important and valuable people.
The meter's
at
running.
bay.
Is this public or executive?
Executive.
Executive. So, at this point, we would ask the consideration of those present for an executive session. We would take up perhaps one of these executive sessions, or are there 2 items that Mr. Hamer needs to participate in.
We're going to exercise.
I understand. I just need to ask the question for you.
Yep.
So
One
which
of, one of
one?
them, I believe, just 190 is the first one.
But there's three,
There are, 191, which item L, the union this morning has withdrawn.
okay. So we have 2 executive sessions related to grievances that we'll be
Yes.
hearing. Okay,
Yes.
can I get a motion to that effect?
Move we go into executive session, one MRSA 456A, consultation with attorney for personnel matters.
4056A, okay. A second? Have a motion, second, further discussion, seeing none, all those in favor, and then we'll take a quick break. Aye?
Yep.
We'll come out of executive session for the purpose of, oh, thank you.
It's just for your, it's just for
Dan, Eddington's at 6.
Yeah,
I thought there were 7.
oh, 6,
So that's actually better. So she just, they're gonna do it at the town office?
oh, it's,
Because it's, she said the house got so small.
right,
So that's good. And I said, can you give us 2 or 3 minutes at the beginning? She says, absolutely.
okay, great.
So-
Good day, gentlemen.
Can I get in and
Yeah,
get out?
nice, okay.
This is the land.
Oh, you're able to go to that one then, that's it?
Yeah, because this is at
Oh,
7.
great.
Yeah,
acquisition.
yeah, up there.
Get rid of it. Come on, sorry.
So we are now out of executive session, at which point I think we're going to render our decision on 2 issues that came before us in the last executive session.
Yep.
Regarding grievance number 194, what action does the commission wish to take?
I move to deny.
Second?
I have a motion to deny on grievance number 194. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Will now take up, it is unanimous of those present, grievance number 190.
I move to deny.
We
Second?
have a motion to deny on 190. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, aye? Aye. So both grievances have been acted on. At this point, I believe we will go back into executive session for the purposes of, well, we've got several matters here. Are we taking all of those up?
Yes.
We have benefits, real property. Let's do real property, followed by benefits, contractual matter, and personnel, or is contractual associated to real property?
It's NO and P are the only 3. The benefits one we already took done.
We've taken care of that.
Yeah, that was 190.
Oh, that, I'm sorry, yes,
Yeah,
thank
yep.
you.
I knew you did that.
NOP.
Yep.
So we will go in for 3 executive sessions if I have a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion to go into 3 executive sessions, 1 related to real property, a second a contractual matter, third a personnel matter.
It's all good. I got it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are now in executive session again. Thank you very much for the time that you took to
Yep.
join us and for the delicious bagels. Good
Hey, your
choice.
timing impeccable.
So glad I came to deliver your bagels.
Yes. Yeah.
Don't go far.
All right. Bye.
So, first matter will be related to You are live.
I would move to authorize the county administrator in a contract with, I would move to authorize the county administrator to enter a contract with Haley Ward under the terms we previously discussed.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to authorize the administrator to sign a revised contract with Haley Ward under the terms outlined to us previously. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous of those present. At this point, Mr. Administrator, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the warrants.
So moved.
Have a motion to approve the warrants as published in our agenda for the June 17th meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion, a second, further discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye, it is unanimous. Do we have an administrator's update that you'd like?
We do, I'll be short and brief and concise and won't take much time, how's that? Yeah, something like that, yeah. So the moisture tax abatement, are you gonna be prepared on July 2nd to deliberate?
I won't.
I think so. I hadn't had a chance to go over the couple of things that I wanted to look over.
Okay.
Yeah.
So July 2nd,
Yep,
which is a Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken?
it is, yep. You have some notes from me and an update on the opioid meeting, progress, the opioid committee.
Yeah.
In there are a couple of requests, if you wouldn't mind getting back to me on an individual basis, or unless you prefer to discuss in total, but,
We can take a look at it, but we'll put that on the agenda for July 2nd.
and the meeting changes, July 2nd is at 11 in the probate courtroom, and the following meeting will be extended out to July 23rd at 10 o'clock in the probate courtroom.
Scott, can you update just those watching the streaming is changing?
Yes, the streaming will be changing, on the YouTube channel,
YouTube.
yeah,
Alright, for
but the county will make a link available.
All right, for those two people out there watching, every,
Well, they might have a crowded room in there, you never know, and then,
It's on the first floor, more people may feel welcome.
that's right.
that's it for me.
That's it. Do we have any questions for the administrator? Seeing none, is there any other business to come before the commission for this meeting? Seeing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move adjourned.
Second.
Vote unless voted. We're done.